Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make Chinese long donut. Chinese long donut is one of the most popular street food in Asia. You often see people eat Chinese long donut with congee, with pho, sometimes by itself, with coffee or tea. You only need 6 basic ingredients that you can easily find in your kitchen. The ingredients that you will need all-purpose flour, water, salt, sugar, baking powder, and cooking oil. In a bowl, combine all the dry ingredients, 2 cups of all-purpose flour or 320 grams. If you are going to use the cup to measure the all-purpose flour, make sure to use the same cup to measure the water. Sugar 1 tablespoon, salt 1 teaspoon, baking powder 1 tablespoon. Now mix all the dry ingredients first. Using the same cup, measure 1 cup of room temperature water. Now you can use a spatula to combine all the ingredients. After you combine all the ingredients using the spatula, now you can use your hand to knead the dough about a minute or so, and once you see the dough become sticky, that is when you can pour the cooking oil in. As you are kneading the dough about 30 seconds or so, you'll see that the dough is very sticky, and that is normal. With this type of dough, no matter how long you knead the dough do not become smooth or they don't become not sticky. It will become stickier as you are kneading it. So after about a minute or so, you're going to pour the cooking oil and you're going to knead it again about 30 seconds, and after that you can stop. You also can knead it in a stand mixer, and if you are using a stand mixer, you can combine all the ingredients including the cooking oil, and after let the stand mixer kneading the dough for 2 to 3 minutes. Now cover and let the dough rest at least 2 hours. With this type of dough, they don't rise to double size. It's only going to become softer, so you can easily stretch before you make the Chinese long donut. With this type of dough, it doesn't easily go bad, so if you are choosing to leave it outside overnight on the counter, the dough still be good. But if you are going to store it in the refrigerator for longer use, you can leave it in the refrigerator up to 4 days, and every time you want to make the Chinese long donut, you can take the dough out, let it sit on the counter at least 2 hours, or let it become to room temperature. After that, the dough is good for you to make the Chinese long donut. This dough here I have mixed the night before. It is over 12 hours and it is still good. Now I'm going to show you how to make the Chinese long donut. You can put generous amount of all-purpose flour on the board, and after you can put some all-purpose flour on your hand. So when you start to grab the dough that is ready for you to make the Chinese long donut, it's not too sticky to your hand. After you let the dough rest at least 2 hours, now the dough is ready for you to make the Chinese long donut. This type of dough is really sticky and that is normal. After you take it out, now you can put some loose all-purpose flour on there so it becomes less sticky, and now you can cut according to the size that you want to make the Chinese long donut. I like to make smaller Chinese long donut since my frying pans or the pot that I'm using to put the cooking oil in, it's not that big. And if you are going to make a big or long Chinese long donut, you have to make sure that your pot is big enough that when you put the Chinese long donut to fry them, it have enough room for it to expand. If the dough is mixed right, the dough should be stretchable. It should be easier to handle as you try to stretch them longer. First, I like to stretch the dough by just using my hand, pull them apart, and after bounce them on the board to stretch them longer. In order to make a good Chinese long donut that will expand, You have to make sure that the dough is soft enough and that the dough is stretchable. It doesn't pull back as you try to stretch them. You can use a roller to run over to flatten the dough just a bit so it's even. Now the edge here at the tip here is not going to be perfect, so that one is always going to be deformed looking, and that is okay. And now you're going to cut it to equal size so you can eye measure it. So for this one here, it's going to be smaller, so I'm going to put them together. So 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pair, 4 pairs, and the edge another pair. These are little Chinese long donuts. It's not going to be super long, but for the next one, I'm going to show you a bigger, longer one. And if you make Chinese long donut by yourself, the little trick is that you don't want to stack them together right away, because if you stack them too soon, those two strips will combine together, and when you fry them, they actually don't expand properly because it needs to be two separate pieces, but they can only stuck right in the middle. I'll show you in a bit. So after you cut them into strips, leave them on the side because I'm going to stack them just before I start to fry them. And now I'm going to make another one. So put some all-purpose flour here. Be generous, is okay. And here it's soft, so you just stretch it and just bounce it. Yeah. I'm gonna make mostly small little Chinese long donuts, but you also can make long one like big one. But the thing is that we don't have a big pot that you can fry a really big Chinese long donut. If you make a big one, sometimes you have to cut them. So this is good. It's a bit thick, and after you can start to flatten it a bit. But you know, the people who sell Chinese long donut in Cambodia, they don't even use the roller. They just use their hand. I watched a video. They just use the hand to stretch it like this, and they make it so perfect. The edge here was so straight as well. But obviously this homemade, I'm not professional, but it works for me every time. It's nothing comparing to the one you just freshly made at home. Freshly made at home is the best because it's crunchy, it's warm, and it's so good. So I'm just doing eye measuring, just as long they look like the equal size, I'm happy. And of course the last one here. And I always pair these two together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. They actually all paired up. I didn't have to cut this one. And if it doesn't pair up, you also can cut this. Let's say it left with one single. Just cut this and make a really tiny one. Transfer into this one. And the next one I'm going to make bigger, just slightly bigger, like double size this one. And here is a bigger dough. A bigger dough, that means I'm going to not make it too thin. I'm not going to make it too thin in width. They're not perfect, guys. This is homemade. You can do whatever you want as long it works for you. So, okay, I think this is good. This is longer than the one that I made because when we fry, we stretch them again. I'm going to flat it down just a little bit more. Okay, now cut them. This one here, I'm going to pair it up with the one that the same length. And this one seemed like not good size, but it's good. With the cooking oil here, I use canola oil. You're going to need generous amount of cooking oil. You need lots. And with these strips here, you don't want to stack them and let it sit for too long, because as you let it sit for too long, those two pieces, they become one piece. You want to avoid that. You want to stack them and almost immediately fry them right away. So this part, you need the water and the shish kebab stick to seal between the two strips. So the trick is that when you dip it, when you stack them, you only want to make the middle part here wet, but not all the way to the edge. The water's not out here. And the water is just room temperature water, and you're going to dip like that. And now you're going to just stack them, and then push it down. So in the middle, stack them and push it down. So the trick is to only wet the middle part. Leave the edges here a little bit so they don't fully become one pieces. And also you don't want to put water so much too. You want to put water right in the middle. You don't want to put all over that when you stack them, they stick together to one piece. When they stick together and become one piece, Chinese long donut would not expand properly. And here is the end. You just kind of stack them together as well. As you are stacking it, make sure you turn on the heat for the cooking oil so the oil can be hot before you start to fry them. Here, a little piece of dough, you can throw it in, and if it actually float up right away, that means the cooking oil is hot. But right now, it doesn't float up right away. That means the cooking oil is not hot enough. Here, one more, I'm gonna throw it in. Okay, this one is ready. When you see the dough float up almost immediately, like 3 seconds, now you can lower the heat to heat 8 and you can start to fry them. The trick is to pull it first. This one is just the end tip, so I'm going to fry these first. And the trick is here to stretch and drop. Stretch it and drop. These are the small little ones. So you don't want to put it too much that it becomes too crowded. I'm going to put about this much. And see, they float up. You can flip them. And the cooking oil here, sometimes it drops in temperature. You don't want to fry it on low temperature or medium heat or anything like that. Heat that you should fry, it should be 8 or 9, because if you fry it too low, it can soak up oil too. Once you fry it to golden brown color, you can take it out. And also you don't have to fry to exact same color. If you feel like it's good enough color for you, you can just take it out. Okay, now I'm going to put in the next batch. So always stretch it before you drop into the hot oil. If you are making lots of Chinese long donut, make sure to only stack some and finish frying them, and then after start to stack the rest and fry them almost immediately. If you stack everything all at once and then while you're waiting for the other one to get cooked, the one that you're frying last, they can become one piece and they're not going to expand properly. This one is the end. The end is never good looking. You can just fry them until lightly brown only, and then if you like to warm up the next day in your air fryer, you can also do that too. This one, I didn't fry it golden brown, I only fry it lightly brown. Because the Chinese long donut, they cook really quickly. Okay, here again, this is a long one. Just stretch them and drop them in. For the longer one, I put almost too much Chinese long donut to fry them all at once. And since the pot is kind of crowded, the Chinese long donut, they kind of expand and they have that deformed looking. That is why I don't like to make the big ones, because the pot, we don't have the big one like the one that they sell at the restaurant. Okay, thank you so much for watching, guys, the video on how to make Chinese long donut. That is it. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more delicious homemade recipe. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye bye for now. Here, the Chinese long donut is all done. Look at this one. And when you break them apart, you should see some hollow.